Well, I say parents, he only lives with his dad. His mom got nothing in the divorce. It's strange how relatable Dreamworks can be to real life. What up, everyone? It's your boy Floz and G, and welcome back to another episode of Tier Up. And this time we are going to be ranking Dreamworks animated movies. There are many more than what I have listed currently. I have not seen all of them, so I can only rank the ones that I have indeed seen. And I will say this one might be difficult because there's a lot of these that are actually pretty good. But enough of that, let's get right into this shit. The rankings for this video are as follows. God tier. Give it an Oscar, Family Movie Night, Nightmare Works, and cancelled. There have been many different animation studios. Disney Animation, Illumination Animation. I think that's how it's worded. But there's something special about Dreamworks. I don't know what it is. First off, we are starting off with The Prince of Egypt. I believe, if I did my research correctly, this was the very first Dreamworks animated movie. I'm pretty sure. It tells the story about little baby Moses and how he grew in the Egyptian kingdom and eventually how he became a servant of the Lord and eventually how he freed all the Hebrew slaves of Egypt. I'm not a big Bible guy, so I don't remember everything that well. Point being, it's not one of my favorite movies on this list, and I know if I have it too low, I will have a bunch of angry Christians in my comments. Do I care? Not really. I'm gonna put you in Nightmare Works. Because I know if I put you in cancelled, everyone in the comments is going to be saying, "Oh my god, he worships the devil! How can he not love this Christian movie of the Bible? Blah, 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 blah." I can guarantee you there will be at least one motherfucker like that. Next up we have the face of Dreamworks animation. We got motherfucking Shrek. Shrek was made as sort of a fuck you to Disney, in my opinion. I don't remember exactly what set it off or what. I don't know. One of the bigger telltale signs that was like a fuck you to Disney. If you say the main villain's name really fast, it sounds like a certain bad word. Lord Farquaad. If you say that fast enough, I know a lot of you are doing it right now. Yep, Shrek, the story of an ogre who wants to get his swamp back because the king forced all the fairy tale creatures out that way. And he has to go on a quest, save Princess Fiona, and eventually Fiona turned into an ogre, or rather, that was her curse or something. I don't know. Point being, I mean, it's not, I am going to say this, it is not my favorite. However, it is literally the face of what all Dreamworks animation is, so I have no choice but to put it up in God tier. Because, I mean, when you think of Dreamworks animation, you think of Shrek. Are you going to argue with me? Next up, we have the sequel, Shrek 2. The sequel to Shrek 1, obviously, where the main villain of sorts is like a fairy godmother who tries to set up the perfect happily ever after dream scenario for her son, who I'm assuming is Prince Charming. Again, I don't completely remember. Yeah, it tells the story of Fiona and Shrek going and meeting her parents, the king and the queen. And I guess Shrek, Donkey, and Fiona were all given a potion of sorts that transformed them into amazingly beautiful things. I don't remember! I haven't seen it in so long! I'm hurting my brain. But in the end, it was something I'd watch during a family movie night. It's also like really early in the morning. I haven't fully woken up yet, so I'm trying to do my best here. Next up, we definitely have one of my favorite Dreamworks movies. We have Madagascar. Madagascar, the story of 4 zoo animals that I guess grew up in a zoo. Alex the lion, Marty the zebra, Melman the giraffe, and Gloria the hippo. Yeah, that's right. They somehow get abandoned on the island of Madagascar, and they need to try to make their way home without dying in the wild themselves. But one of them tends to go a little bit feral, and because I guess going back to his wild roots or something like that. I don't want to say too much because I am going to be spoiling these movies. Yeah, if I hadn't said it already, which I don't think I did, this video is going to have plenty of spoiler alerts. Madagascar, it's definitely one of my favorites. I'm going to put this at the very beginning of God tier. The very beginning of the God tier. Because it's awesome. Next up, we have a movie called Over the Hedge. It's about a bunch of animals that live in a forest that has been surrounded by creation of condo complexes or a neighborhood or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they get approached by a raccoon who destroyed this giant bear's collection of food. So they need to go out and get more food, which they believe is going to be stored for them for winter, but in all actuality, he's using them to collect it so he can pay back a bear. Someone pitched that idea, and it went through. It's not cancelable, though, so I'm going to put it in Nightmare Works. I just think a lot of these are better. Speaking of which, next up we have The Bee Movie. The Bee Movie is about a bee named Barry, who's voiced by Jerry Springer, and Jerry Seinfeld. Why the fuck did I say Jerry Springer? But no, he's voiced by Jerry Seinfeld, and he goes into this relationship with a human woman, and yeah, just me saying that, someone pitched this movie too. And again, it went through. I'm surprised actually a lot of these went through. B-Movie actually also had a PlayStation 2 game, which for the longest time was my favorite game to play on the PS2. But we're not talking about the game, we're talking about the movie. The movie itself, it is not one that I would watch over and over again. I can't say I'd put it and give it an Oscar, but I can put it at the head of Family Movie Night. That one I can do. Oh, next up we got another one of the golden boys of DreamWorks. We have the Kung Fu Panda! Kung Fu Panda, also one of the greatest creations that DreamWorks has ever made. So much so that it's gotten 3 sequels. I think 3 sequels at this point, as well as its own series on Nickelodeon, as well as I don't remember what else. But yeah, Kung Fu Panda, amazing game. The story about a panda who grew up in a noodle shop, and he's a huge fanatic of Kung Fu. And one weird twist of fate caused him to become the Dragon Warrior, the savior of all of China. But there's one bad guy who wants the power of the Dragon Warrior for himself. Not going to say too much more if you haven't seen it yet. But Kung Fu Panda, oh, that's a really good one. So much so that I think I have to put it up here in God tier, even ahead of Shrek. Come on, there we go. That's one thing about this. It's very difficult to perfectly align them, but I honestly think it is better than Shrek. Next up, we have the sequel to Madagascar, Madagascar 2, Escape to Africa. Or, depending on how you read it, Madagascar, Escape to Africa. It's the story of how they used the wrecked plane on Madagascar to try and fly back to New York. But what ends up happening is the plane crashes over the continent of Africa. And some of them go back to their roots, and one of which meets their parents that they were separated from. Again, you'd have to watch the movie to understand what I mean. I think it's really good. I can't say it's better than the original, because no matter what, you're never gonna find a movie where the sequel was better than the original. I don't think that's possible. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put Madagascar Escape to Africa and give it an Oscar. I feel like that's a perfectly common middle ground. Next up, we have the movie Monsters vs. Aliens. I think I've fully seen this movie once. I don't have much of a recollection of like what went down in it. It's definitely not one of my favorites. There are monsters, they fight aliens. That's about all I know. But if I had to watch any of these movies over again, Monsters vs. Aliens is definitely not one of the ones I would choose. So we're going to go ahead and put that in canceled. I just don't like it. Next up, we got the Dreamworks movie, How to Train Your Dragon. This was a good one in my opinion. It's a story about a Viking named Hiccup who doesn't really like to fight dragons or is very nervous about doing so. And when he eventually tries to go out into the wild to fight a dragon, he ends up befriending it instead. And they have this lovely relationship, but he can never tell his parents about it because they would never approve of it. Well, I say parents, he only lives with his dad. His mom got nothing in the divorce. It's strange how relatable Dreamworks can be to real life. How to Train Your Dragon is definitely a really good one. I'm not going to say it's as good as the God tier ones, though. You know, I'll put it at the very head of give it an Oscar. At the very head of it. Come on. There we go. The alignment on this is so difficult to get perfectly right. But next up, we got the man with the giant blue head. We got Megamind. A story that revolves around a villain who has tried to win against this hero all his life. And finally, he destroys the hero. And he has had everything he's ever wanted. He's had power, he's had fame, he's had money, he's had control, he's had victory. But it's not enough. He felt like he was missing something. He needed a new foe. He needed purpose in his life. So he created a new one, but it turned out to be an even bigger villain than he was. So he needed to stop it. And he eventually turns into a hero himself. And he gets the girl. So we're going to go ahead and put Megamind probably the tail end of give it an Oscar. Megamind. Again, it's really early in the morning and I have not woken up completely. Next up, we have the sequel to Kung Fu Panda. We have Kung Fu Panda 2! Which I actually thought came up before Megamind did. I guess it didn't. With Kung Fu Panda 2, we learn a little bit more about Po's backstory. About what happened to his panda parents, friends, ancestors, all that shit. They got wiped out by a peacock named Shen, who I guess wiped them out because he was told a prophecy or something that his demise was going to come at the warrior of black and white, which I guess, obviously pandas are black and white, but I don't know. Again, I haven't seen this movie in a really long time. But it's all about Po trying to find inner peace with everything that's been going on and happening. And I guess he manages to do so, and Shen, you just have to watch the movie. But Kung Fu Panda 2? I'm not as big of a fan of that movie as I am many of the other ones. So Kung Fu Panda 2, I'm more than likely going to put at the beginning of family movie night, if anything. Because, like, it's good. I don't think it rises to the level of the other Give It an Oscar movies. Next up, we have the sequel of Madagascar. We have Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted, I think is what it was called. The penguins had abandoned them in Africa. They made their way to Rio and do a bunch of gambling and bullshit. So the other ones that were abandoned on Madagascar, I guess they swam all the way to where they were. Wait, was it Rio? Reno? I don't remember. Point is, they swam all the way to where the penguins were. And they needed to hatch a plan to get away from the European authorities or wherever the hell they were. So they hitched a ride on a circus to try and make their way back to New York. Which, in the end, I guess they managed to do. But along the way, they learned that the circus was their true place to be. So they had to try and get out of the zoo again. Is it as good as the other Madagascars? I'm not gonna say that it is. I'm actually gonna say it's again in the middle of family movie night. And that's probably the best place for it. Next up we have this train wreck of a movie. We have Rise of the Guardians, or something like that. It's about a bunch of holiday-themed, or holiday icons, or whatever they are. I don't remember what the true term of it was. but there was someone named the Boogeyman or the Shadow Man who was taking over the world and destroying dreams, something or other. I don't remember jack shit about this movie. Yeah, jack shit. That's funny because the main character's name is Jack Frost. But yeah, I I wasn't a big fan of this movie. So much so that I'm gonna put it in canceled. It's a bad movie. It's a bad movie. I am tired and need to wake up. Hopefully the boogeyman doesn't haunt my dreams. Next up is the movie called The Croods. It is about a family that lives in the prehistoric times of the cave people and how anything new is dangerous. But the main girl, daughter of the Croods family, she goes out and meets this guy named Guy, who's all about new and adventurous stuff, and eventually they and the family go on an adventure as the world is falling apart. It's an okay movie. It's not one that I consistently watch though. So I think with this one I'm gonna put it in the end of Nightmare Works. It's okay, it's not one that I would watch a lot. And this next one, I actually thought this one came out before it, but we have Turbo. Turbo is a snail that always dreamed about the racing, about going fast, because he hated being slow. And I guess one freak accident caused him to get into like the fluid or whatever of either a racing car or it was a lawnmower. I don't remember. Point is he got in the car. Point is he got in the fluid of some sort of fast thingy, and it gave him powers to go super fast. And from what I can recall, this movie actually did not perform that well, and it serves him right because, in my opinion, it wasn't a good movie. It wasn't a good movie either way. So I didn't really like it. You know what? No, I didn't really like it. It's canceled. I can't put it any higher than that. I can't. Next up, we have the sequel for How to Train Your Dragon, How to Train Your Dragon 2. This one, it follows the journey of Hiccup once again. There apparently was this very evil guy who has this giant dragon and wants to take control of all the dragons. But he ends up finding someone else who he thought was the evil person who wanted to take control of all the dragons with their giant dragon. But it turns out it was actually his mother who got the dragon in the divorce. Because I guess maybe she didn't agree with the Vikings' lifestyle of hunting dragons. Maybe she saw them as true life and wanted to save the dragons or whatever. I think I've seen the actual movie only once, and I can't recall jack shit about it. In my opinion, it is not as good. It's not as good as the original. No sequel can ever be as good as the original. It can only be adequate or slightly worse, or dramatically worse. But we're going to go ahead and put this one probably at the tail end of Family Movie Night. I think any higher is a disservice, actually. Next up, we have a quote-unquote sequel to the Madagascar. I think it's a sequel franchise to the Madagascar movies. That's what I'm going to call it. We have The Penguins of Madagascar. That actually got a series on Nickelodeon before anything to do with the actual Madagascar movies. It tells the story of how they all came together to be a family, and that apparently in the today world, there's someone stealing penguins from all over the world, and it turns out to be an octopus that the penguins, I guess, had supposedly wronged. Again, you're probably gonna have to watch the movie to understand what I'm talking about. But as a movie itself, I think it's actually kind of good. And as its own, like, quote-unquote separate franchise, I might actually put it and give it an Oscar. Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. I might actually put it and give it an Oscar. There we go. I almost moved Monsters vs. Aliens up. That would have been a very big disservice. Finally, the last one we have on this list is the sequel to Kung Fu Panda 2, Kung Fu Panda 3. Kung Fu Panda 3 is a good one in my opinion. I guess Po's dad turns up out of nowhere and I guess tries to teach Po the power of Chi by teaching him how to truly be a panda. But what does it mean to truly be a panda though? I don't know. Point is, apparently his dad lied and didn't know chi. He tried to do it to protect Po from some big spirit demon that came out of the spirit world who wants to take all the chi of the world. But I'd say it's probably given an Oscar worthy. So we're going to put it at the tail end. And that, I believe, seems fair. I think this is right here. This is definitely where I'm going to leave it. I've been Floz MG. This has been Tier Up ranking Dreamworks animated movies, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.